Welcome to Thrive in the Future podcast, positive solutions to help you thrive, designing your intentional life, homesteading, gardening, and rediscovering culture and tradition. At Grow Nut Trees, I still have some chestnuts and some elderberry, as well as comfrey crowns and comfrey cuttings. That's at grownuttrees.com. Okay, welcome back to Thrive in the Future. This week, I've got Christopher with me from SecureCoop.
Howdy.
And Christopher, how you doing?
Much better than I deserve. How about you?
So, good.
Yeah.
So tell a little bit about yourself.
All
You're
right.
in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Florida. I'm born and raised. Love it here. Love the weather. Florida's great for as far as like our growing season, but our soil is horrible.
Mostly
So
sand.
it's mostly sand. There's a little bit of loam where we're at, and a little bit of clay, but it's just hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your homesteading look like down there?
Well, I got pictures if you want to see them.
Oh, sure.
I took pictures today.
No
Okay,
worries.
so all right, where's the zoom now?
Wow, there we go. Great.
Okay, cool. So this is what we got going on. What we have is a really tiny little homestead. We got about an acre that we were personally responsible for. It's on mother-in-law's property, and we love living with her. We can help her out. She's able to give us property. We have a couple of RVs, and it's beautiful out here. We just love it. Kids get
That's
to
cool.
see, the kids get to see grandma. We can save some money, and everybody's happy. So we're loving it. We got a whole acre basically that we're responsible for. Half of it we have left to woods, and then the other half we've been, mostly my wife, been filling out little bits in here with fruit trees and all kinds of. She doesn't plant anything unless it's either food, medicine, or it attracts pollinators. It's a beneficial kind of a plant.
Great. What kind of trees you got there?
All right, so in the picture we've got, I see a couple mulberries. There's a plum to the right, and then to that right, that green weird looking one, that's called a katuk. That's an African plant, and if I remember right, and it's good for no, actually I think it's from Asia, but it's good for it's got all kinds of minerals in it. On
Wow.
the left-hand side, that big bushy one is a pigeon pea. We'll get closer look at that one. But more in the foreground, the little pink flowers are Turk's cap, and then dead in the center to the left of that wheelbarrow is the only caffeinated plant that grows in North America. It's native. It's a yaupon holly. So if you want caffeine, at the end of the world, there's your caffeine source.
With SHTF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So let's see what else we got. On the right here are just some really cool. They're good for chop and drop. They're kind of a sunflower, but the seeds are too tiny to really harvest. But the birds and the bees love them, and they grow so tall. The ones last year that these replaced, the one that grew up to like 18 feet or so.
18 feet?
Yeah, it's just
Really?
enormous. You just walk out under a towering tree of sunflower, and it's
That's a
beautiful.
yellow flowered thing?
Yeah, that's a yellow flowered thing on the right.
Wow.
And behind that, we've got some lemongrass and some arrowroot she's growing.
Oh, cool.
In the foreground here is a plum on the left there. Just behind the plum to the right, like dead center, is the little banana tree, but it's not very happy right there. Needs more water and such. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, dead center in the back there is a beehive. To the right is a mulberry, which is, I don't know if you've grown mulberry.
Yeah.
My first time 5 years ago growing it, and it just grows fantastic. It's just like, you just put it in the ground and walk away. It's so easy and like loads of fruit, just wonderful.
Sure. So do you got everbearing? Does it bear all year round?
That is a good question. She bought that from a guy who we really love, and I am not sure if it's everbearing. I know it's a red variety, but I don't know much if it's everbearing. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, there's that pigeon pea. So that one is of course, you get the peas off of it, which is a legume that you can eat. But the leaves also are very full of protein, so they're
Hmm.
great for fodder. We're starting to try to bulk up things for fodder for one day having animals and not having to buy feed for them.
Sure.
If you got a little
Nice.
bucket in the ground for some a worm farm, small worm farm, and some okra going on.
Huh.
Okra grows pretty well here, but these are kind of look not all that happy. Maybe you need to do something different with it. Then to the right there are some roselles. Can you grow those where you're at?
Well, I don't know what those are. What
Okay,
are they?
they're loaded with vitamin C and they make a good tea, and
Hmm.
they have really pretty red flowers. In the
Oh,
foreground,
cool.
we've got a little worm farm she's working on, and then this is the back view.
Nice. Nice raised beds.
Yeah, um, this is the other view from all that. We got
Cool.
there's the beehives, and on the upper left corner is a bat box, so it can track, bring bats in.
Mm-hmm.
We had some when we first moved in, and I haven't seen them in a while, so we put in a box hoping they'll come back.
Neat. Where's your
Now,
chicken place?
where's the chicken place? That I started with chickens about 8 years ago, and hawks and dogs got them. That was when I started developing SecureCoop, and I said, if I'd have had the SecureCoop finished, probably wouldn't have lost them. So yeah, they'll come again. We'll get them again.
Great.
We got a really popping sweet potato patch. They got
Wow.
mowed because we decided just going to leave them in the ground this year, not try to harvest them. Uh, so they just mowed them because she's getting tired of looking at the overgrowth. But just in like a few weeks, they've come right back, and here it is, almost winter. They just are like fantastic. You just, like, you put them in the ground and walk away. They like thrive on neglect.
Yeah, you can eat those leaves too. You can put
Can't
them
eat the
in
leaves.
salad and stuff, right?
Yeah. So if we ever get a situation where we have to grow the majority of what we eat, sweet potatoes will be a large part of it. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
put them all over because they're so easy. And I went to the grocery store, picked up all the different varieties and planted all of them. And the one that did the most vigorous was the one I kept. And that's this kind of Japanese sweet purple potato.
Really? Huh.
Yep. Beautiful little thing.
And
Um,
then you'll leave them in the ground and they'll come back next year?
yeah, in this part of the world, when it's not that cold, they act like a perennial.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll come back.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, the upper right corner is a true yam because a sweet potato is not a yam. So the upper
Mm-hmm.
right corner are some true yams. They really need like more room to vine out, but they are so good. They're aggressive and invasive here in Florida. So you walk around
Nice.
the woods and find yams growing out all over the place. And I intentionally put this one in because it was an edible variety. Uh, he said, just watch where you put it because it'll go. And it
Yeah.
tried. Yeah. So they just will grow like nuts, and they when you dig them up, it's like 10 pounds for the root or something.
Wow. And
Yeah,
those are just wild yams?
they're just wild yams.
Gosh.
They were introduced about 100 years ago as an ornamental, and they just escaped, and now they're all over the state. So
Mm-hmm.
you walk around, and people don't even realize how much food there is in the woods.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
People don't realize how much food there is in normal park and stuff either.
That's right. Well, here we've got a passion flower. She's growing on a nice trellis.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting that started. It's starting to pick up now.
Wow.
These are some mulberries and long. I don't know if you know who David the Good is.
Yeah.
He met his wife under the descendant of or the ancestor of these mulberries.
Really? Wow. So you got them from him. That's neat.
Yeah, well, I got him from a guy who knows him.
Mm-hmm.
So he that's our plant man. He knows David, and he bought the Rachel mulberries from him. So
Yeah. So David the Good's over in Alabama now, right?
yes, he is. And he
Okay.
used to live about 100 miles from here. So a lot of his books are written for this region, which is beautiful. So I can just, like,
Mm-hmm.
pop open the book and turn to page 48, and there we are.
Yeah.
So she's growing it right here. That's a little sad looking today, but the apothecary with all sorts of, like, I can see in the back. Believe that's what's that fuzzy stuff? I want to say mullein, but that's not right.
Oh yeah, that's Mullen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know I can't identify most of what she's got here, but this is all medicinal.
Hmm.
Believe it's yarrow on the right.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
she's
it's definitely mulling back there. Cowboy toilet paper. Yep.
yeah, yeah. Oh, nice little rosemary that's happy. Rosemary just
Wow.
goes so good. Now, have you ever heard of a beauty berry?
Grant talks about it a lot.
Yeah. So this is I took a real. This is not my picture. This is a like a downloaded what a beauty berry looks like in real life, and they're a little bit more like pink purple than this. They're a little bit more purple.
Right.
They live up to the name. They really are beautiful.
Wow,
Uh,
that's weird. They're all clumped around the stem.
yeah. Now the funny thing is there are a few different varieties, and we got a white one, and she's trying to grow them and sell them one day because it's really rare.
Uh-huh.
They're almost always like you can drive around Florida, and you're like, oh, there's some beauty berry, there's some beauty berry, like everywhere, but
Yep.
it's always the pink ones, never the white ones.
I think Grant's sending me some beauty berries, some
Yeah,
cuttings of beauty berries.
if you can grow them, they're really cool. They're
Yeah.
slight, they're I wouldn't call them like the best kind of edible, because they're a little astringent, but you can turn them
Mhm.
into jams and things. The
Yeah,
leaf,
I'll probably have to treat them nice because they probably are outside my zone, but we'll get them going.
yeah, yeah, you'll have to push your zone on that, like in the greenhouse or whatever.
Hmm.
But the leaves also are in a mosquito repellent. So,
Really?
yep.
Hmm. Good.
This is chaya. We're growing that, and it is a kind of a tree spinach.
Hmm.
And then we've got an olive here going, and a well, I'll show you that again. The olive, which does like Florida, which is weird because most uh, olives are don't do well in Florida.
Really, like regular olives?
Yeah,
Tree?
regular olives don't do well. So we found a variety from our plant man who he says will do well in here. So
Huh. Interesting.
we've got. I love this picture of this is milkweed. So we had a monarch actually hatch a caterpillar on one of them, and but I like the next day he was gone. So I don't know if he got ate or what.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's ornate.
beautiful milkweed. This is a back view from on the left hand side. We had a compost trench where we just took our, our kitchen scraps and things and threw them in the trench,
Uh-huh.
and that's where we had some volunteer sweet potatoes come up, and then a volunteer Seminole pumpkin. Now, Seminole pumpkin, that'd be one thing I say if you're a person who's short on time, energy, and money, work with your native stuff. Like find out what's always been grown in the area, or find out what likes the area, and go with that. Don't try to like do weird things with tomatoes and stuff. Seminole pumpkin is native to this area, and
Uh-huh.
you can just it was like it also is one of those that just thrives on neglect. You just put it in the ground and walk away.
Wow.
So yeah, it was. Then they'll sprawl like they'll go 50 feet for one plant. It's insane.
So your compost trench, what's your process there? You dig a trench,
Hmm.
you throw your stuff in,
Yep.
and you just put dirt on top of it, and then
Yeah,
it
yeah.
goes
We
to
all
town.
right. Yeah, exactly. We also threw in logs, so it
Yeah.
was
Oh,
it's
okay, okay. So you
along
got a
the
little
line of
hula though.
yeah, along the line of a hugelkultur.
Yeah. So how long do you let it sit before you plant into it?
Actually, these just came up. We had plans to use it, and they all this stuff just everything you see on the left hand side of the screen is all volunteer.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, including the well, no, I take that back. The ones in the foreground are more of those sunflowers.
Hmm.
Those are not volunteer, but on the right we got some cassava, which is what the tapioca plant comes from, and it is a kind of a starchy root.
Yep. Yeah.
Here's another cassava that was a volunteer. She thought it died. She tossed it in the compost trench, and I mean it is exploding. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
And
So
then
what do you use the cassava for?
so it just sort of like potatoes. You
Hmm.
just use it like sort of like I mean it can be used for tapioca, but if we were to dig it up, we would just use it like potatoes.
So is it a tuber or do you grind up the stalk or what do you do?
Yeah, it's a tuber. Now the leaves, I can't remember if you can use the leaves, but I think you can.
Hmm.
And propagating this real easy. You just chop off like a 18-inch stick from the one of these branches, plant it horizontal, and it'll just take off.
Horizontal. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
all the little nodules that will sprout a new whatever. So
Wow.
she had just thrown this in the compost trench, and it came up.
Hmm.
Beautiful. She put in some little bit of strawberries, and we have these are tiny, called truly tiny banana trees. They're short. They're those are only about 4 foot tall, and that's like their max height. And we haven't got bananas on them yet, but I've been told that it can take a while.
Hmm. Yeah. So how tall will that be?
That's about 4 foot. They're not going to get very tall.
It won't get any taller than that.
No, they're called truly tiny, so they're like short little dudes. But what I like about this is we put this one right on the end of the washing machine outlet, so
Mhm.
it just gets fed water constantly. And bananas are very thirsty, so
Okay.
it's constantly getting water.
So do you gray water out to this bed, right?
Yeah, correct. There's the washing machine, and then the main RV gray waters out to another bed of bananas.
Hmm.
Yep.
Awesome.
Now we have about 6,000 watts of solar, and I'm slowly moving forward on that project so I can actually install it. But at least it's here on the property, ready to rock and roll whenever I am.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great.
And that is life on our tiny little homestead.
Yeah, send me some of those pictures. It was great.
All right, we'll do.
Cool. And then you work from home and then you commute to work a couple times, right?
Right. Yeah. So I have to go into a 60-mile one-way trip into the big city to go to the office.
Uh-huh.
And I've learned the best thing I just is just get into my minivan and treat it like a small RV and just sleep in Camp Walmart.
Camp Walmart. Yeah, because
Yeah,
don't you have to go there for a couple days straight,
I
right?
do. Yeah, I have to be in there in the office 3 days, and
Really?
yeah, so
Every week or just
every week, and they're just being silly, like so. We moved way out here during COVID when
uh-huh.
I was working remote 100%,
Sure.
hoping that it would stick to that. Well, and I had in the back of my mind, if it doesn't, then I'll figure out something, you know. But and we did, and I'm glad we did. And actually, it's not too bad. It's sort of like it breaks up the week, and it does. I kind of look forward to it. The commute. I go into town. I get some nice coffee at the store. You know, I make the best of it,
Yeah.
and and
That's
and then,
good prepping scenario there, right? To,
yes,
figure out how you'd live out of your van for a couple of days if you had to.
yes, yeah, and it's no big deal. I feel very safe at Camp Walmart. There's in walking distance to coffee in the morning, and
Mhm.
Wi-Fi in the parking lot, and I park with the employees in the brightly lit section, so never get hassled or anything. Uh,
Mhm.
in fact, I feel like I sleep better in there than at home because I have this really nice mattress in the car, so I feel like I get better sleep while I'm on the road.
How do
Uh,
you blot out the bright lights?
I have an eye mask. Just,
Oh,
just
I see.
yeah,
Okay.
just sleeping with an eye mask,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah,
Cool.
it doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me. Just but you do what you got to do. Like when you got a wife and kids and mother-in-law that
Hmm.
you're trying to all support, and you want to move out to the country, but there's no good jobs nearby. I could either work remotely and take a little bit of a cut, or I could just deal with a
Yep.
once a week commute into town.
Yeah, I got a similar situation during COVID. I purposely got a job that was remote and I wasn't even in the same state. And then we got
Oh
bought
wow.
by somebody else
Oh,
that has an office in Kansas City. So they're trying to force us to go back
ouch,
a day or two a week.
ouch.
And it's like over an hour away. So
Hmm.
not cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I don't think I would do it if it were if I had to go every day.
no, I won't do it if it's every day. But so far I've been able to resist, but we'll see how long that lasts.
Hmm. Yeah.
Probably not too long.
Well, you can
So
always pull up into Camp Walmart.
yeah, or figure something else out.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were talking on one of our Telegram chat groups about so everybody thinks that there's going to be shit hits the fan
Yeah.
and or SHTF. I'll cut out the shit hits the fan and and that it's all or nothing. It's all collapse
Yeah.
or it's good,
Or it's
right?
good. Right.
But, I mean, if you listen to, even if you listen to our leaders, I mean, it's not a resource rich future, right? So we have to work around it. And one of the things that we were talking about is strategies for the inevitable restrictions, or would you say, right? So
Yeah, rationing.
yeah, rationing. At some point, it has to have some sort of rationing, either because of a war, which
Right.
we're in, or because of that's just the way it's going to go. I
Yeah.
mean, and we have to have, and so let's talk about some strategies around that, because I think
Yeah.
that's everybody's freaking out, everybody's like, oh no, it's going to do this and that. We like to focus on what's the positive solutions and all that.
Right. You want to
How
thrive
do
in the future.
yeah, how do we thrive through rationing,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is a situation and scenario that I agree with you. I don't think a lot of preppers are ready for uh, a life where during like World War II, there were a lot of things were rationed: sugar, tires, typewriters. But one thing that really shocked me was the rations for gasoline got as low as 2 gallons a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see many preppers having to, like the world they didn't have nuclear exchange. There was no EMP. You still have to go to your day job, but you get 2 gallons a week to do it. Now,
Yep.
farmers had an exception, but like as we learned during COVID, the essential workers didn't necessarily line up with people who you would consider essential. So we might
Sure.
not see farmers get that same exemption this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that you'd see electric vehicles be allowed, you know, because electricity for now would be until they start rationing electricity, which is where, having a stack of solar panels would really come in handy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just don't think a lot of preppers are ready for that situation where they have to go like, I have to still work and I have this big diesel dually and I drive it every day, and I drive 40 miles one way to get to work, and you're in trouble, Buster, because
Yeah.
you can't make it, down around the corner with that big old truck and that much gas,
Well,
So
and that's why, back in World War II times in the 40s, um, you didn't have suburban sprawl.
right,
So 2 gallons of gas
yeah,
would get you to the train station. It would get you, or you'd walk
right,
or something into town if you had to.
yeah,
So, because you lived in, basically pretty much the outskirts of downtown.
yeah, and the farmers had horses, and
Mm-hmm.
people got around a little better. They walked more than we do now. Uh,
Sure.
so yeah, so I don't. I'm not saying for sure that that will be our future, but I like to. One of the things I like to do with my free time when I'm like I'm on a long commute, I have time to think to myself. I put myself into really bad situations and ask myself, how would I thrive in the future, in that future?
Right.
How would I work out and come and get out into that situation? So, here I've got, we make a couple trips a week into the town that's close by for, church and for groceries. That is 10 miles, 15 miles one way.
Mm-hmm.
And with our minivan that burns almost 1 gallon just to get to town.
Right.
So we'd make, with no changes, we'd be able to make one trip a week,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and not at all possible to get into into my downtown. So I put on my thinking hat and said, what can I do in my situation? This is where your audience can start to put on your thinking cap and just say, what can I do in this situation? And if if you intentionally think through situations where it's the absolute worst, then anything that's better than that is like pure luxury. So if it's 3 gallons a week, man, I could do so much with an extra gallon. If it's 5 gallons a week, oh wow, we could go on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sat there and I pondered what I want to do with 2 gallons. So I still got to get to Jacksonville. Still got to have a job. Um, I know what I could do. I could get an e-bike. There is a train station in the local town. I could get an e-bike, get to the train station. Now, how would I get from the train station in town to the office? If I have a folding bike, I can bring the folding bike onto the folding e-bike onto the train, and
Right.
there's no extra luggage charge for that. So what size do they use? So I was looking that up. What size do they allow, and what size bikes are there? So I spent probably too much time on this scenario, but like a e-bike, a folding e-bike, get to the station. Um, Charge up on the train because they have power outlets on the train, charge the e-bike on the train, and then ride the rest of the way to the office. So just little things like that. And I also considered that for our minivan we could do what's called hypermiling, where you drive softly and you add little vents and covers and whatnot. And then
Sure.
the other thing we might do would be an ethanol conversion. So for like $800, you
Hmm.
can get a kit that plugs into your engine, allows you to run ethanol, gas. And the reason that's important is if you have enough sugary kinds of materials like sugar or Jerusalem artichokes or things with enough carbs in them, you can still distill, make your own alcohol. So
Hmm.
you can make your own, corn. You can make your own fuel. And for $800, that's a lot of flexibility. So it's worth considering. If you have one of these older cars, about 10 years ago, it was a fad to have flex fuel cars, so the E85 gas.
Sure.
And if you have one of those flex fuel vehicles, it will run pure alcohol. So
Hmm.
yeah, so like if I sat and pondered and thought it through and realized that it would really hurt us severely. But my wife and I both have discussed it. We are not leaving here out this country, out of this country location if we don't have to. We just
Yep.
love it so much, and we do what we have to. We would just cut way back. Um,
Hmm.
I could see a future where, like with this Great Reset and Agenda 30 and all this nonsense, where they would, there's a saying: there's nothing quite as permanent as temporary.
Yeah.
You know, so they've put in these temporary um, war rations of your 2 gallons a week, but your electric vehicle can get unlimited miles. And they put that in and they go, well, people are used to it now so much, we should just keep it.
Right.
So I could just see that coming, and then people out in the country would not go with it. They would either have to buy an electric vehicle and all that entails, or they would just give up, and move
Go.
to
Yeah. Go back to
yeah,
donkeys.
yeah, go back. Or no, I think they would just move to the city. A lot of the
Yeah.
people are kind of soft when it comes to that, and they would just give up. They'd just be like,
Hmm.
I'll move to the city.
Or
Um,
they'll figure, some way to, force it to the city. So,
yes,
but I mean, basically, it's quite conceivable that we'll get some sort of, if they don't have that, they'll have some sort of carbon allowance.
yeah,
And then, you have to apply
yeah,
to go on vacation. I want to go to Colorado, right? And you have to apply, and well, nope, you can't go this year. You got to go next year or something. And
hmm,
then
yep,
that, I mean, people are already talking about that. This
yeah,
isn't even just crazy talk. This is, the normal host of people
hmm,
are talking about stuff like that.
yeah,
So it wouldn't be, I think that war rationing type thing would be a completely unsurprising, um, medium, right, to get
yes,
there.
yes,
Because that would make sense, especially with people that continue to drive gas cars.
yeah. I mean, there's no way you could, if the president came on tomorrow. First of all, half the nation doesn't trust him. And if he were to say, okay, folks, we need you to eat your peas and carrots, and we need you to now, buckle down and support the war effort, they wouldn't go for it. And
Or there
so,
just wouldn't be gas. There wouldn't even be any gas available. right? 1970s.
Yeah, that could happen. I think that would cause irate. Here's where I'm going with this. During World War II, before World War II started, a lot of Americans really weren't on board with going to war. They just
Mhm.
weren't excited about it. They didn't want to. Um, and then the day happened, Pearl Harbor,
Yep.
and they said that the most dangerous place to be the next day was in front of an Army recruiting office because people were just crowding to support the war effort, and they were so happy to give up tires and everything. Now, whether that was an legitimate act of false flag or not, I'm not going to speculate. I just know that Pearl Harbor inspired the nation, and if we were to see another similar kind of a war drive, I think we would need something like a 9/11 times 5 or a Pearl Harbor or something like that.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
whether that's intentional or not, I'll leave that with you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's probably some people that are listening going, "Oh, you're just talking about negative stuff now." And
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
well, no, not really. What you need to do is figure out how to, if you don't plan for that stuff
Yeah.
now, and this is the thing, it's
How do
mindset.
you thrive? Yeah,
You
mindset.
know, so many people, including me, were prepared
Hmm.
and were adequately prepped, shouldn't have been affected by COVID at all. I still had a job. I could have worked from home. I had all the food I needed. I had toilet paper. It shouldn't even have been a blip. I should have just sat there and laughed at it and stayed home.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I went to the store and watched the world burn, and it got in everybody's head,
Yeah.
right? And then there were people that weren't prepared mentally or
Yeah.
spiritually, and they got depressed
Hmm.
because the god of prosperity, and without sounding, real religious, but I mean, basically that's it. I'm American, dang it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I shouldn't have to suffer, basically.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's like, there were so many preppers that I know that just lost it,
Hmm.
even though they were adequately prepped. And so if you don't start thinking along those lines, and not to be a doomer,
Yes. Not to be a
right?
Yeah, because
But
you want to thrive in the future. You want to thrive in that imagined future, not suffer.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And you were talking about Jerusalem artichokes. I mean,
Mhm.
I just dug up some Jerusalem artichokes that I planted this year,
Okay.
and they look like potatoes. They're
Mhm.
not all lobular like the usual Jerusalem
Okay.
artichokes,
Okay.
right? They're more circular. They're not, it's hard to peel Jerusalem artichokes because they're all lobular,
Yes. So
and
you got
these
some smooth
are
ones.
just, yeah, these are circular, and it's like, wow, this is pretty good. So, it's even little things like that, and then preparing mentally and physically and
Yeah.
spiritually as well, right?
Right. Yeah. And preppers live in the world that exists, not the world that should exist.
Right.
The world that actually exists has problems with where politicians like to go to war, and it has problems where there's a draft effort. And it does have, let's say, Gulf of Tonkin with legitimate, actual, proven government false flag events.
Hmm.
These kinds of things happen.
Right.
So a realist has to say, okay, if I'm in that terrible situation, what is my way out? What is the way I negotiate that? What is the way I start to think it through? What are the resources around me? I call it like survival MacGyvering, because like, you remember the MacGyver show? He
Hmm.
like could
Hmm.
get his paper clip and he'd get his, wire and a little bit of potassium and whatever, and he'd make a bomb. And
Right.
so the survival MacGyver can find the things that are around him, and not only help himself but help others as well to really just thrive. So
Sure.
yeah.
And to be that gray man, so be in the gap. No one's really noticing you,
Yes.
but you're able to do what's necessary, and then also help others,
Yeah.
right?
So how about you? How would you handle 2 gallons a week?
Well, I just basically wouldn't go anywhere,
Hmm.
and except like you said, one trip to town a week,
Hmm.
and we could get by on that.
Hmm.
um that would be important. We've got horses, and we've got a donkey, We've been talking about getting a cart
Okay.
and maybe going the donkey route,
Hmm.
the donkey cart, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and then just keep planting trees and plant trees, cultivate gardens,
Yes.
and livestock.
So that you don't have to go to town as often.
Yeah, exactly. And what are we doing? What are we doing for heat? All those things, right? I think we got to get back to the victory garden,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Both,
That's one of the wonderful things that came out of World War II in
yeah,
rationing.
both from a personal standpoint, but also from a community standpoint.
Hmm.
So, and get churches, everybody else to, have community gardens
Yes.
and then start utilizing. There's so many people that give up in July here, and we have the capability for 2 seasons.
Okay.
So, if you see the standard victory garden thing, it says do beans followed by something, right?
Hmm.
So they've actually got baked into it 2 seasons.
Okay.
So, start thinking along those lines.
Hmm.
And around here, you can't find any seed after July 4th.
Okay.
So, plan it all out, have your plants going, and then you could I've gotten 2 seasons of potatoes before
Hmm.
and stuff, right? So
Nice.
if you
Yeah.
plant early in March and then plant again in July,
Uh-huh.
and I've been able to get 2 seasons going that way.
Nice.
So
Nice. Which is
even
good. We,
little
we
things
can't
like
get
that.
any potatoes except sweet potatoes, so you're doing better out with it than regular
Right.
potatoes are just a bust here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, but yeah, that's especially your potatoes are going to be your good sustenance crops. You can live on a lot of potatoes.
Sure. And then also the foraging, right? So much we're driving through the park
Uh-huh.
and I said, "Are those apples over there?" And no, they were pears. And
Oh.
and they were the common, they're I don't think they were wild. The common pear.
Okay.
And so we just went over there and just cleaned the tree out, you know.
Nobody cares.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think they had it for wildlife or something, but a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of nut trees that are out and about. What about you?
Yeah, we got I wanted to say two things about the wild foraging, but yeah, we don't have a lot of nuts going on. We do have acorns, which are edible.
Hmm.
Um, we have pecans are in this region, but I don't believe we have any. When I was a kid growing up, we had two nice pecan trees, but I don't think we have any. I know we got pears and apples, but the apples are probably not going to do good. I think only the pears. Anyway, about the wild foraging, there's a couple things you could do with wild foraging. Is one is if you're out walking and you see something really good, um, that is a great one to bring home and plant at home
Hmm.
for the reasons that, as I was saying earlier, it's native. It likes the environment. It grows without any input. It's bred for hardiness.
Hmm.
So it's like the easy button. You're just going to
Yeah.
put it in the ground and it's going to go. The other thing you could do with wild edibles is use the rest of the world as your garden. So take we get a lot of wild grapes here, and they're not very big, but you could take the wild grape and put it somewhere else. Or the yams, you could put it somewhere else.
Hmm.
And so there's the way you could use those wild things out there. You just use propagate, like guerrilla gardening, and you just find a lot,
Yeah.
somewhere where there's, and you put your that way you can basically extend the size of your garden out. Um, but around here, I think I would probably go collecting a lot of acorns,
Hmm.
leach them out. There's a method of leaching out the tannins so that they taste acceptable, and acorn cakes are actually not too bad. Um, and then we have a lake nearby, so we can go do some fishing.
Hmm.
It's about bicycle distance. Um, we are near a large swamp where there are bear and probably some gators, but up here in this part of Florida, it's more like bears and coyotes and things. Uh,
Really?
yes, this is more the North Florida, so the gators are more like South Florida, and the bears and things are more up here.
Mm-hmm.
Hogs and deer and things like that.
Wow. Do they have bear season up there?
It's not that bad,
Mm.
but like we had one swipe our trash can, and someone has seen one dead on the road. So they're around. They're just not,
Sure.
large numbers. Um, but I don't. I think, to your question, there might be a bear season, but I haven't checked into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do know that the guy who we buy our plants from, he's got so many deer that he's going to get a nuisance license, and he told me I could come and hunt on his property. So I'm excited.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll be able to get as many as we want to shoot. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'll be deer hunting this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the middle of rut. So it'll be good.
And just this lifestyle is like the name of your podcast is like, or as Jack Spirko likes to say, whether times get tough or even if they don't, it's just a beautiful way of living, whether nothing bad happens at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful. I just love getting up in the morning and looking out over the plants that are growing, and get it's silence out here, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just when you start opening your eyes to the abundance,
Yeah.
I've started using that plant app, and I've got a couple of foraging
Mm-hmm.
books, right?
Yeah.
And I
That
go,
plant
hey,
app
wait a
is
minute,
great.
that's wild mustard,
Yeah.
and
Right.
mustard greens, and I found some chicory that was growing in my
Yeah.
driveway, and
All right.
get some chicory out,
Yeah.
we got mullein everywhere,
Oh, cool.
so and elderberry, so
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've got some elderberry.
yeah, elderberry just everywhere, and you can make wine. Or it's funny, I've made wine out of elderberry, and it's nasty, 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 nasty until about a year, and then all of a sudden it turns okay, and then it gets better from there.
Okay.
But it's absolutely disgusting up
That's
to a year.
that's funny. That's
So
Yeah. We have like it's called dewberry. It's almost a blackberry. It's very similar, and they just like go everywhere. You'll find dewberry, just everywhere. So that's one I've tried to cultivate, especially near the fence, because like somebody climbs over it, you want them to climb into a dewberry patch.
mhm.
So that's one.
Is it got thorns?
It does.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I planted three, maybe it was two small snow white blackberries that were thorny, and they took over the whole back 40. I'm going to have to do some eradication. And last time I eradicated it, just made it mad,
Oh man.
and then it spread worse.
Well, that's a good
So,
problem to have, though.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't
It's
seen any
aggressive food.
blackberries on them.
You haven't seen
Yeah, it's
blackberries on?
aggressive. No, I see a lot of thorns on them,
Oh,
but
that's disappointing.
yeah, I'm going to cut them down and put some tarps over them and see if that helps. But
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be a multi-year war.
you just made them.
So I don't know. It just makes them mad.
But does it bring in the deer?
Um, Yeah, I think so. I think
So
the chestnuts and the hazelnuts bring in the deer, and then the
yeah.
oaks. So,
So
we have
you're
quite
growing a deer
about
garden.
acorns. Yeah, exactly. We had a deer that something happened to him, and he must have got hit by a car, and then he got
Oh, yeah.
stuck jumping over the fence. And so we found him. He had a really nice nice antler rack there. It was really
Mhm.
interesting, but we found him too late to use him, but it was still pretty neat.
Okay.
He was huge.
Oh wow. Well, back to the subject. Something just came to mind is you could also consider carpooling, and that has multiple benefits. Like you get to know your neighbors.
Mm,
We've got somebody that goes to our church. It's within 2 miles of here,
mhm,
and there's no reason why we couldn't share the car. They would get their 2 gallon allotment. We'd get our 2 gallon allotment. We go one day with her, and she'd come with us one day, and so I think that could work. So that could be something where it would bring the community together, and you're just working together with what you have, what's
right.
around. Yeah. E-bikes are definitely an option, I think, to look at as well. Gas bikes, because gas bikes, little 49cc engine can go 30 miles an hour or so, which is, well, I think of it like a horse, right? So a horse
Mhm,
goes about 20 miles an hour, carries about 2, 3, 400, especially if you have a wagon, pounds, and it goes, but so an electric bike with a like maybe a gas generator or a gas bike is about like an electric horse. There's no vet bills, no feed bills, but it goes about the same speed, carries about the same load. So what I was going to say about a gas bike is it goes about 30 miles an hour, and they're $300, $400, $500, and they're 80 to 120 miles a gallon.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you get a little 4-cycle gas bike, they can be converted to ethanol. So you can make your fuel, you can go all day, and you're going about the speed of a horse. So we're stepping back in time, but we're not. But it's still like workable. Life went on, when people got around with horses. That just went on a little bit slower, and arguably that's maybe a little better. So
Yeah.
yeah, so life will go on. It would just be difficult and challenging, and nobody would be really all that happy with it. But I think we could do it. And you don't have to give up and move back to the city.
Yeah, you might not be able to run your dryer. I
Right.
know folks that are off grid that they have to choose when they're gonna run stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a bonus today, and we've got a glut of energy, so now we can run the dryer.
Right on. Yeah, not use your solar powered dryer, otherwise known as a clothesline.
Clothesline, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a dryer break, and nobody will come out and fix it. They go, "Oh yeah, you're out of our range."
Ooh, ouch.
What do I need to do? Like load it up and bring it to you, or what? So we got into hanging it up.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
got a rack and got a clothes rack for downstairs in the basement, put in clotheslines downstairs and stuff. So, and we just been doing that. Almost forgot that we have a dryer.
Yeah, in our situation, I went and found I used to do the high efficiency stuff thinking I would save money in the long term. They just would break like 2 years, 3 years, and they'd break. And I like, okay, this is getting to be ridiculous. After about 4 or 5 replacements, I said, I've had it. I went out and got a dumb washer, not a smart washer. I got one that uses more water, and we feed it to the bananas. And I got with a guy who used to work for washing machine, like Maytag or something, and he retired, and he gave me a bunch of his parts for like $40 a box of parts. So now we've got a washer. It's been running 5-8 years already, and it'll probably be going until the apocalypse with all these spare parts.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I would just say to your viewers, go with the old designs. Find something that look around and see what the old designs are. I wish I could tell you what model it was, but find out what the old designs were back when they built them to be maintained, and go with that instead of these new high efficiency stuff. With a lot of things, but I just personally prefer that way of living. So
yeah, that's pretty good. Final thoughts.
Well, we can thrive in this kind of future. We don't have to be afraid of it. We have to live in the world that actually exists, and in this world, people are disappointing. Politicians are disappointing, and they do stupid things so we can negotiate, navigate, and work with that, and thrive, not just survive.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So she just started coming up with these T-shirt ideas that are gardening related.
Right.
And she asked me to make a website for her. And let me open it up here and share the screen. So I just built the website last week, and it's going live. It's going live now. Which one is the right one? Bear with me while I find it. That's probably the one. Yeah. Okay. So what she did was she has a bunch of these little cute ideas, and then she used an AI art generator to generate graphics to go with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like rebuilding the soil one fun guy at a time.
So that's blossomingthreads.com, right?
Blossomingthreads.com.
Oh, cool.
Send you the link.
That sounds good. And
Yeah.
you've got the SecureCoop, right? Give us an update on SecureCoop.
Okay, so SecureCoop, I am wrapping up beta testing.
Mhm.
I covered some bugs during beta testing, and I'm working through one of them now, but it's not a very thorny bug. Let me stop sharing my screen here. So SecureCoop, for those who haven't heard of it, it is a coop door opener with phone notifications. So if you have a chicken coop, it'll send a notification to your phone when the thing opens, when it closes, when there's an issue, so that you will be able to better go on vacation or whatever and trust that you're able to keep an eye on your coop. Eventually, it'll be taking the same core platform and running it out and extending it out through all the backyard. So all sort of like secure farm. So like watching your electric fence and watching for motion in the garden, like a predator, or cameras or lights, or maybe even some exotic things like an automatic squirt gun that shoots at the deer. And so, but the hard part has been getting the core right. The core is like, sign up a new account, make it reliably give me notifications, let me fail over when there's a problem. And so that has been the hard part. I found out that I'm not as good of a software developer as I thought it was. So it took me a long time to get the core where I am now, but now is more or less functional. And I got 3 weeks off at the end of the year that I'm going to just try and just, bust it. So,
good.
See if I can.
So what's a website for that?
That is securecoop.com.
SecureCoop.com.
And there is a coupon, and I think what I can do, I will make a coupon and we'll put it in the show. That way, if anybody watches this show, they can get on the pre-sale, use the coupon as well. If they sign up on the mailing list, there's a coupon, and I wrote a free ebook on coop protection. So if you want to learn how to better protect your chicken coop, there's an ebook for you. So sign up to the mailing list and get the coupons and watch for updates.
Sounds good. Excellent. Thanks.
Are you thriving? Check out the Thriving Community Telegram group. It's where our community shares our solutions, our wins, and even our losses. Come and share your stories. Join by going to signup.thrivingthefuture.com. And check out Thriver News. It's thriving community news without the noise. It's where Perpet and I have more long-form articles about different topics, including homesteading, intentional living. For example, some of the things we've had here is how to make comfrey salve or balm on the fly, the challenge of being present, basically musings from around the fire pit, teaching kids that failure is an option, a food forest walkthrough of year 3, what worked and what didn't. So check it out at thriver.news. And if you like this episode, consider joining the Thriving Patreon, where you can get early episodes, extras, outtakes, ebooks, as well as lots of bonuses. That's at patreon.com/thriveinthefuture. Thank you for listening to Thrive in the Future podcast. If you like what you hear, please click that like or subscribe button in your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter at ThriveInTheFute, and also go to thriveinthefuture.com.